Stand by.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Active Self-Protection Extra. I am Christopher Beam with Tactical Advantage, and today we're going to talk about, can you really get better at shooting in virtual reality?
This is not a paid endorsement, but Cigars Daily is a friend of Active Self-Protection, and like Active Self-Protection, they are active in the fight against human trafficking all over the world. If you like cigars, check out their excellent YouTube channel and pick up some sticks to support the work they do.
Stand by.
So welcome back, everybody. I'm pretty excited to make this video. It's been a long time coming. So the Ace VR system, I was an early adopter, and I've been running it for about a year or so. I've got about 140,000 rounds within the app right now today. I've just been pretty excited to kind of share it, but I wanted to take the time to make sure that I felt there was value and really understand it for myself before I kind of brought it to anyone else's attention. So basically, what this app is all about is it's within the virtual reality kind of meta world on your Meta Quest. And what the guys at Ace have done is created a pretty diversified kind of palette of different shooting challenges within the app. So there's probably over 100 or so just different stages, for lack of a better way to put it, that you can go in and shoot. And you have practice mode and you have ranked mode. So you can actually go in and just practice and learn the different movements of the gun, things like that. And you can go in and kind of challenge yourself versus other people's scores. It's very deep with data. So after you finish your stage, it'll actually show you split data, duration data of transition, draw to first shot, things like that, which is immensely helpful. And it's put together in a very easy kind of to use platform that's very engaging. So it kind of starts with this. So this is their Arctis controller, loosely based on a SIG 320. And when you look at it, you're like, oh, well, that looks like a toy. But my thoughts on it, it's weighted, so it has very similar weight and balance to a real firearm. They have the staccato or a staccato version, and I think a P365 macro version, but don't quote me on that. I've just used this one. I think there's other avenues where you could get different handsets to fit, but they're not being offered directly from Ace. But what I will say is once you're using this in-app, it's a very, very useful facsimile of a real gun. The way the trigger works, there's a wall and a brake, and you can see how it actuates your Meta controller. So that's the first thing. This feels real in-app. It swings like a real gun. The visual data you get seems like a real gun. You can go and outfit the guns or your tools however you'd like. They have a multitude of like red dot offerings, iron sight offerings, things like that. So you can make it one-to-one within the app. So the biggest strength of this, I believe, is the visual data you can get. So learning how to transition and control your gun, things like that are, again, one-to-one in my experience to the real world. So there's obviously no recoil, things like that, but learning how to move the gun, station the gun, actuate a trigger without moving it at varying target difficulty is huge. And I found it to be very, very, very reasonable as an addition to my dry fire routine. So the next thing we'll talk about is like the fun aspect of it. So they're continuously updating it. And there's probably a couple thousand users within that app world. And what they recently did was put in like group functionality. So you can go in, create a group of people that you like to train with, and at any time anyone chooses, they can go into that group range and you can actually train together. So that does a couple things for you. One, you can go compete with your friends, and not only just compete with your friends, but have all the time data, all the hit data, hit factor scoring, times, leaderboards, all of these things to increase the engagement level. And it's incredibly fun. It's just super fun. The group range setting came in about a month ago from when I'm taping this. And I've just been every day just looking for someone to train with. Whether they're better than me, worse than me, it doesn't matter. It's just fun. Excuse me, the other end of that is, as I kind of briefly mentioned before, the leaderboard stuff. So all of these different challenges, you can go in and shoot them, and you have a practice leaderboard and a ranked leaderboard. So if you choose to do ranked runs, it stays in perpetuity what your number is on those runs till you improve it. And you can see that versus some just incredibly fine shooters. There are a ton of very, very, very strong shooters within the app, and more every day. But it's just incredibly engaging. And what I've found from the visual aspect of training, that this is likely to take over the bulk of my visual training within Dryfire. I still do reloads, things like that, draw to first shot with my gun daily. But I found this to be something that actually improves my own engagement with Dryfire. And probably for the last 2 months or so, I'm going in twice a day onto this unit. That's how excited I am to use it. And it doesn't feel old. They're constantly adding new stages, probably one a week or so. You have that ability as time goes on, as you get better, the ones you did poorly, you can go and just refine and refine and refine and continue to work on. So I'm a proponent of it. I'm getting nothing for this discussion with you guys. I bought this unit with my own money, my own time, sat with it for over a year before I wanted to kind of explain to anybody what I thought about it, because I really wanted to give it a fair shot. With that being said, I like it a lot, and I sing its praises to a bunch of people. There's just a ton of things you can learn as a shooter, and the other end of the group functionality is you can actually see mannerisms or see things other people are doing within the app, because there's avatars set up. So you can see if people are moving their head around, or making abrupt movements with the gun, or how they're falling into a position or out of a position. It's just incredibly smart use of the technology. So at least from my perspective, this is the most refined virtual reality shooting game I've found that I think has real world applications to make you better. The last thing that I find myself doing is I've seen some very, very known to me names on the leaderboards, and I find it motivating to go in and try and apply my skill level in relation to their recorded numbers and try and improve that and get closer to them. That's given me a whole lot of motivation I wouldn't otherwise have. I've seen no detrimental things in my live fire transition with this. But there are some things to know about. So within app, certainly speed and accuracy are rewarded, and there can be a tendency for someone to use bad form. But I will tell you this, if you use bad form within the game, you'll notice your score is actually going down, because bad form doesn't dictate to fast, accurate work with a gun. And you'll see that tremors in your dot or things like that it's just amazing to me that that's legitimate and that really works. So all of this said, it's a subscription-based service, and it's a pretty significant investment in the beginning. So the MetaQuest, if you don't already own one, is a relatively pricey piece of technology. Ace is actually a subscription-based service, so you can either pay by the month or you can pay a year in total, and you have to purchase the handset. So it does turn into an investment. But again, what I will say is I think I referenced to it earlier, is I have done roughly 140,000 rounds over the last year in this. If we take that 140,000 rounds into live fire, what would that have cost me? And that number is significant. And I've found it to be just as helpful as just doing normal dry fire, if not more so, because it's more engaging and I want to train more. The guys that run the company are shooters, and they are solid dudes that care about providing a product to people that actually does something. So it doesn't gamify dry fire, but it does so in a way that isn't corny and it still brings value. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm a big fan. If you guys haven't seen this, I'll input some in-app stuff within this video, and hopefully that lets you kind of see just a few things. There's a ton of things to see in it, but that's just a few. So hopefully this helps a little bit. And if you've been thinking about one of these, at least from my opinion, it's absolutely worth a second look and absolutely worth your consideration. So with that said, see you guys next time.
Stand by.